Season 2 of The Legend of Korra gets a lot of hate. There's a lot of people out there, you get on YouTube, they're like, this bash on this season, say it's one of the worst seasons ever. I remember watching this back in, because the season came out in 2012. I was in college, so I watched 2013, 2014 actually. The last season was out the year I watched it, 2014, 2015. And to me, when I watched this season, I didn't think it was that bad. Now, do I remember much of it? I remember, and this is spoiler talk, guys, so spoiler talk right now, I'm letting you guys know. But I remembered the beginnings episode, episode 7 and 8, which blows everything out the water this season. Like, you almost want the season to be about that. I remember Janora, and I remember the final fight. And one scene in the spirit was what I remember when I look back on it for the rewatch. And I go online, I'm like, why do people hate this season so much? And I'm gonna break it down a little bit, get into it, why people might dislike it. But I'm already talking about what I like as well. And there's people out there who loves this season, people who don't. So this is one part of the most decisive, not decisive, but like just disruptive, just so much controversy. I can't say the word right now, guys, because I'm just like so excited about this. But controversial season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, Legend of Korra combined, and we're gonna jump into season 2, book 2, Spirits, on this episode of Movie Breakdown Series Review. Let's get into it. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdown Series Review. I'm your host, Ali Zakka, and what is Movie Breakdown Series Review? Well, take a TV show, a series, review it, give a final grade, you know the drill. Also, if there's a series or a TV show you want to watch, please put it in the comment section below, and I try to get to it as best I can. And side note, I have a Patreon, Patreon/Ali Zakka. On this Patreon, which is $2 a month, you pretty much get a request of me to watch, like, hey Ali, can you watch the show? I'll get to it best I can. Also have like a premium version of it as well, which means you get like full access on not just reviews and stuff coming out early, but you get trailer reaction, trailer reviews, first thoughts on stuff, and more. Also, you jump in front of everybody else when you ask for a review. Now, let's get into this episode of Season 2, Book 2, Legend of Korra, which is also known as Spirits. Book 1, by the way, is known as Air. And my Book 1 review, I was just kind of getting everything going on this and kind of feel like I was all over the place. And I was like, alright, you know what? I'm going to reel it in some and go through episode by episode on my notes. Now, I can tell it to you better than just saying, oh man, this happened, this happened, this happened. I have a little more flow chart. And I'm going to get into this flow chart. Matter of fact, I'm going to jump into the series right now, the season right now, because Book 2 starts off with a lot of stuff. The first 5 episodes, first 6 episodes I should say, has a lot of things that you just really, you're like, okay, you're trying to sink your teeth into it, but there's so much to go on that you can't really sink your teeth in anything and feel like you got a grasp of everything. So after season 1, which by the way, there's no mention of Amon or his brother, that pretty much season's done. The only thing that comes out of season 1 that carries on to season 2 is Mako, Bolin, Asami, and Korra can go into the Avatar state, and the characters from it. But like as far as like the main villain and the outcome of that, nothing. You don't get anything else from that season. But Korra and the gang go back to the South Pole, and there's a festival down there, the South Pole Festival. By the way, the South Pole has I guess Southern Water Tribe. At the South Pole, the Southern Water Tribe is much bigger, more advanced than it was when you saw in Avatar: Last Airbender. And that's another thing, before I get into this, I think a lot of people get upset at this season because they compare it to the Avatar: Last Airbender, and they're like, well, Avatar: Last Airbender did this way, and they did like this and this and this. Legend of Korra just seems to be doing its own little thing. The thing with Legend of Korra, the seasons are its own concise story versus Avatar: Last Airbender, where all 3 seasons was a giant story. It's not fair to compare the two together. I think a lot of people do that when it comes to season 2, and that's why they get upset at this. But anyway, I'm about to jump into it. So they go down to the Water Tribe to this festival, and the Northern Water Tribe king or leader comes down, who's also Korra's uncle. Korra's brother Tarok, he used to be the heir to the throne until an issue happened and he ended up being exiled to the Southern Water Tribe. Well, the reason why, because he destroyed a spirit force, which was caused by his brother who framed him. So his brother is trying to get into the spirit world. We don't know why at this point. He told Korra this lie that like, oh, you know, we have to open the spirit gates because the spirits are upset about what the humans are doing here. In reality, he was actually using dark energy to make the spirit turn evil, which I'll get into that. So Korra is helping her uncle out, but all the same time upset at Tenzin, upset at her father who didn't teach her the spiritual stuff and what was going on with the world at this point with the spirits. She's the Avatar, but she don't know about it because she doesn't have a good spiritual connection, and they're like, we're not going to worry about her right now. She just need to focus on her training to get stronger and become an Avatar. So they didn't want to tell her that. So she's upset at them, just viscerally upset, just like visceral anger to her, and just don't want to talk to any of them. Tenzin's like, okay, that's cool. I'm heading out. Deuces, I'm gonna go on vacation with my family and my brothers and sister, who he doesn't want to be around, by the way, and that's a whole nother story. But back to this main piece here, in which Korra ended up helping out Urlach, which is her uncle, but also start a civil war between the Southern Water Tribe and the Northern Water Tribe. Which I'm like, okay, we got a little thing here going on. Like, she's helping her uncle unlock the spirit world, but then he brings in the Northern Water Tribe soldiers to put the Southern Water Tribes in their place for some reason. Korra like doesn't think anything wrong with this at first, and then she like trying to figure out what's going on, and then turns to a civil war, which I like that. I like the civil war stuff. Problem is, you only get it within a few episodes, and then that's it. You don't hear about it after that. Like, it's an afterthought. Speaking of which, the Civil War part happens within the first 6 episodes as well. And this season has 14 episodes. I get it. It's a shorter, well, actually it's longer than season 2, but shorter than Avatar: The Last Airbender season. So you have a lot of stuff got packed in. But after episode 7, the Civil War is almost a non-existent thing. So that's Korra's issue there. And Bolin and Asami are on their own little thing as well. Asami is trying to keep her company afloat. So she take over her dad's company after her dad been ratted out. So she's trying to keep her company afloat, and she is trying to work with a guy named Varric, who is this like Southern Water Tribe mad scientist, not mad scientist, but mad businessman. He's an entrepreneur who comes with all these different things, and he's making things called Movers, which is a movie, and he needs an actor to do his propaganda to try to get the Republic City to join in on the war and help the Southern Water Tribe fight the Northern Water Tribe, which he's going about it the wrong way, and he's actually planting like thugs and framing the Northern Water Tribes, and they're doing things like attacking the Southern Water Tribe building and Republic City and bombing things, attacking ships and stuff like that, and framing the Northern Water Tribe, when in reality he's doing it to himself to try to get the Republic City to get into this war because he can make more money off the war, and Asami can make more money off the war. So he's doing all these things. It's kind of like the bad guy and the bad girl, but he's not a bad guy, he's more of an antagonist. And Mako, who's now on the police force, is trying to figure out how to stop this guy, and at the same time nobody was believing him. So that's a whole storyline going on there, while the movie things, which Bolin becomes an actor and there's this giant star and he's doing all these things, and you really don't care about Bolin. He's there as comic relief and takes you from the main story. Asami's just there, unfortunately, and you take her from the main story. I'm like, okay, Asami gets pushed to the background. Bolin kind of just there. Mako is, by the way, dating Korra for the first 6 episodes, and she's there. Also, Bolin gets into a relationship with Korra's cousin, who's voiced by Aubrey Plaza. I don't remember her name. She's eccentric and she's like just a little bit odd, but she doesn't really have a force on the season. Like, she's there, but she's not really like a main antagonist. She's just there for Bolin's comic relief. So that's going on. And then you also have Tenzin and his family's dynamic, and that's another thing that's going on, which I actually enjoy Tenzin and his family dynamic. So Tenzin has a brother named Bumi, and he has a sister named Kaya. By the way, Katara's here, and she doesn't really get into their little quabble. So Tenzin's the youngest of the brothers and sisters, and at one point one of Tenzin's kids go missing. Kiki, I think her name is. Is it Kiki or Iki? Iki goes missing. So Bumi, who is the oldest, he's not a bender, but he's named after King Bumi. He's a jokester, also somebody who gets like, you know, just annoying, got on my nerves a lot, but he makes these giant fairy tales and stories. But he's a general, former general of the military. He retired. So he's there, and Kaya, who's a waterbender, and she's there as well. And they go on, they find out like Dad never really appreciated both of them. He really more attached to Tenzin because Tenzin was an airbender. So Aang put like pretty much his priorities onto Tenzin, trying to make Tenzin like to be the next generation of airbender leaders and continue the generation on. So Tenzin has this weight on his shoulder that he felt like he has to be the chosen one, just like his father was, while Bumi and Kaya's like, no, we're Aang's kids too. You don't have to take this burden on your own. And throughout the season, they kind of learn to gel with each other, and Tenzin really upsets himself as himself. Like, he has finally accepted the fact that he doesn't have to be an Aang. He doesn't have to live in his dad's shadow. He just needs to be him. And it's a pretty cool scene in the spirit world you get to where Tenzin finally has that moment. So that's the third thing. So you have the Water Tribe Civil War. You have the Movers and Bolin and Varric. You have Tenzin, the family dynamic, and then there's one more thing. A love triangle is back between Mako and Korra, who they break up, and then Asami moves in on Mako, who Mako's like, you know what? I'm down with this again. I'm gonna get back with you, Asami. And you're like, okay. Korra comes back later in the season because she goes away for a moment. Comes back and has amnesia, makes out with Mako, and Mako's like, oh yeah, I guess me and Korra are a thing again. After he said they broke up. And you're like, we're doing another love triangle, and I get it. Avatar Last Airbender, love triangle. You don't need a love relationship in Avatar to make this happen. Korra doesn't need a boyfriend. I don't understand why he got forces upon her. But whatever, they're doing this. You don't care about that. You don't. But then let's get to the best part of the season. The beginnings, episode 1 and 2, where you go back and learn about Avatar Juan, who was the very first Avatar. So Korra gets attacked by a dark spirit. Actually getting chased by her brothers, by her cousins, her two cousins. She gets attacked by a dark spirit and gets amnesia. Kind of wash up shore on a Fire Nation's temple's island. They pretty much put her in some spiritual water so she can go back and figure out who she is and get her memories back. And she goes back in time to the very first Avatar, who is Avatar Juan. And you learn how he becomes a firebender, which is given to him by the turtle. Is it Turtle Lion? Lion Turtles? They do the whole thing. They get the Aang in season 3 of Avatar Last Airbender, where they do like the teaching. They touch your chest and your head at the same time so you can learn how to use bending. Well, he learns how to get fire bending, and then he disrupts Rava and Vatu, who are pretty much the embodiment of light and darkness. He separates them because they're tangled together, fighting each other for over 1,000 years. And he finally separates them, which Rava, for some reason, she got separated, she started to become weaker, while Vatu got stronger. I didn't understand why, and the show never expressed why she was getting weaker as he got stronger. They didn't make sense. Why she just say it's powerful, but okay. But Vatu is now spreading chaos amongst the world thanks to Juan, and Juan wants to fix his problem. So Juan teams up with Rava to learn all the other elements and try to get powerful enough to stop Vatu from taking over the world. Same time, before Juan meets Rava, he got exiled from his lion turtle and lives among the spirits and becoming like, I guess, creates a bond with them when he saves one of the spirits. And they realize not all humans are bad, and not all spirits are bad. So he has this bonding moment. He becomes like a protector of both spirits and humans, fights Vaatu, merges with Rava, and becomes the first Avatar. And there you go. You get the first Avatar, and the art and the coloration and the tone, the music, everything with those 2 episodes was so good that you really want the season to be about, you know, Juan's journey and him from beginning to when he dies. You want to all know all the things that goes on in his life when he becomes the Avatar. And when these 2 episodes happen, the rest of the season you forget about. You don't care about the beginning of the season. You don't care about the end of the season. It literally takes you out of the whole Legend of Korra season 2 and puts you in this whole new world that you're like, what's going on with, you know, Bolin and Mako and Korra? You don't care about that. You just care about these 2 episodes, and they're so good. Praise and props to that, because it's done amazing. After you get over that, the season pretty much ramps up and you get into straight spirit world stuff. Like there's everything else doesn't really matter before. You have a moment where Bolin fights some stage bad guys who are pretty much paid off by Varric to attack the mayor, and that's about it. Asame Mako, Mako gets framed, Mako name gets cleared, Korra comes back, finds Tenzin, and they try to get into the spirit world so they can stop Uralak from merging with Vaatu, because he want to become the Dark Avatar, which he does eventually. He does merge, and I'm almost wondering, like, okay, there's a Dark Avatar now. That means there's a rebirth. Every time the Avatar gets, you know, the person gets killed, is there a rebirth of a Dark Avatar? And that's a neat dynamic to go with, like dark and light. You know, I like that. I actually like that. I didn't mind the Dark Avatar thing. When I watched it first, I almost forgot about that thing happening. I remember the final fight scene, but I almost forgot about the Dark Avatar happening. They try to stop Uralak, so Jinora has a good spiritual awareness, and she can connect with the spirits. So out of nowhere, by the way, it just happens after episode 8. Like, she has this giant spiritual connection, and there's a hint in like the first 6 episodes. Like they hint at it, but not as strong as it was in episode 9 on beyond. So Jinora and Korra goes into the spirit world to find where Vaatu is trapped at. Gets lost because Korra is this very angry. Her energy is negative, so it upsets the spirits. Jinora tries to explain to Korra. If it doesn't happen, Korra becomes baby Korra again and runs into Iroh, of all people. Which I'm like, Iroh's back. And this show does a lot to remind you that, hey, we have Avatar: The Last Airbender, and we're giving homage to them and giving them praise. And heck, we know that series is really good, so we're going to put some of those characters in this. Which, you get Iroh back in this season. And it's a nice breath of fresh air to see him. And he said he lives in the spirit world. He's been there since he gave up his physical body. He's been in the spirit world, and he lived amongst the spirits. Give Korra a lesson about, you know, positive energy kind of thing over negative energy. Korra learns that her positive energy can shake the world she's in, which I'm like, why is she taking so long to understand this? But okay, she's the Avatar, I get it, whatever. And she finally finds her way to Vaatu. On the flip side, Jinora, who gets separated from Korra, is in the library from season 2 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The library is in the desert. She's in that library, meets the owl guy, and he ended up working with Vaatu because reasons. And she gets kidnapped by Uralak because of reasons. She gets kidnapped by Uralak. So Uralak uses his advantage to beat Korra. Pretty much traps Jinora in the spirit world. Korra goes back, says, I need help. Goes back, finds Vaatu and finds Uralak and fights him, while Tenzin, Bumi, and Kaya, after a bunch of shenanigans, finally gets to Jinora, and they find her in a spirit of clouds, and they beat like General Zhao, who's still there wandering. His soul is lost, so that's where he's been at since season 1 of Avatar: The Last Airbender. The spirit makes Bumi and Kaya lose their minds a little bit. Tenzin starts to lose his mind, but then meets Aang, and finally comes to grip that he is, you know, Tenzin, not Aang's son, but Tenzin, his own person.
I am not a reflection of my father. I am Tenzin. I am Tenzin.
And was able to defeat the spirit, get Jinora, gets his brother and sister, and get on out of Dodge. Mako, Bolin, and Asami teams up with Korra. They fight off. Well, Asami doesn't. She actually takes Turok, which is another thing I gotta talk about. Takes Turok to safety, and Bolin, Mako, and Korra fights off Udalak. Doesn't work. Udalak merged with Vatu. Korra fights Udalak and Vatu. The Dark Avatar loses Rava, who gets ripped out of her, by the way, and gets killed. And there's a thing that mentioned in the beginnings episode where Rava tells Juan that, hey, you know, without light there's no darkness, and without darkness there's no light. So if I die or one of us die, we will just come back. And that's what happened essentially. Korra was able to get Vava out of Udalak and Vatu and merge with her again. But also by Rava getting killed, it cut the connection from Aang to the very first Avatar. That connection got cut. So the Avatar still exists, but the connection to the previous Avatars no longer exists, making Korra kind of essentially the first Avatar again, and kind of the rebirth of the Avatar. So any Avatar in the future, they will have to connect with Korra, and they can't connect with Aang and anybody else. Which I'm like, okay, that sucks, but gotcha. At least she's still the Avatar. But there's a point in the seasons, like I think it's episode 13 or not 14, episode 13 or 14, I think it's 13, where Korra's like, I do not have connection to the Avatar anymore. And Tenzin's like, hey, the Avatar is not who you are. You're a Korra. And he shows her like it is the tree of history and time or space like that. They're like, hey, these are the great things you've done. Believe in yourself. And she becomes this giant blue spirit, and she fights giant Udalak, Vatu, Dark Avatar. And I didn't mind that fight. I was like, okay, this is interesting, a different take, and the battle of two giant spirits fighting each other in Republic City. Okay, cool. By the way, the Dark Avatar goes to Republic City to attack Republic City. The first thing he does when he became Dark Avatar. Not sure why, but that's where he goes. But Korra, with Janora's help, beats the Dark Avatar. She merges with Rava again, and then keeps the spirit world open. She like decided to let the spirit world be open so the spirit world can merge with the human world, and humans and the spirit can cross each other's worlds. Which I thought that's a very neat thing, very interesting thing. And episode 7 to episode 14, I was down with. Also, you do get to see Turok versus Udalak with a pretty cool fight scene. But probably like the end of the Civil War, because Turok is like rising up against his brother, could realize his brother's just an evil person. Then we don't really explain why he's a bad guy. We don't know why he want to merge the spirit world or why he want to become a Dark Avatar. It's just like, I want to do it. I'm going to Dark Avatar. And, you know, he knows that Vatu is a bad guy. Anyway, after all that, the ending results of season 2. Korra keeps the spirit world open, which what Udalak wanted to do. He wanted to keep the spirit world open so humans and spirit can merge with each other. He doesn't believe the spirit world should be closed. Korra's like, yeah, I think he's actually right about that. So she keeps it open. Turok becomes the new leader of the Southern Water Tribe and becomes the king or the prime minister or the president, whatever you want to call it, of the Southern Water Tribe. Korra is the Avatar once again, and now we actually have something to lead us into season 3. The spirit world is open with the human world, so you can go back and forth. I already know what's going to happen in season 3, but it's almost like, okay, at least we have an opening. At least have a continuation for it to go into season 3 versus just letting season 2 end and there's no reason for season 3 to happen. Versus like season 1, it ended, it wrapped up. There's never a reason for season 2 to happen. Now you actually have a reason for season 3 to happen. So this is more of a connection to the next season versus just this is season 1 and it's its own little thing. I enjoyed this season. I didn't think it was a bad season. Yes, episode 1 through 6 kind of like, why are we watching this? Why is this going on? There's so much going on. But after everything wraps up with episode 7 and 8 and continue on, you're like, okay, I'm in, I'm invested. And I get why people don't like the first part of the season so much because there's a lot going on. But really, after they clean some of that stuff up and just like, hey, we'll forget about that stuff and going on with this direction with the spirit world stuff, you're like, okay, I'm down with it. The villain is not that great. He don't really care about the villain, but the Dark Avatar concept, I'm down with it, and I know it's gonna happen in season 3 and season 4. So unfortunately, it's something that doesn't get touched on again. I'll talk about that in my final review of Legend of Korra. But as far as this season in and of itself, I was down with. Cool things, Aubrey Plaza's in this one as, you know, the daughter of Urlak. I just don't really want to mention her name. I can look it up. And then I do want to mention this season just constantly reminds me of The Last Airbender, because the voice of Asami is done by the girl in the movie The Last Airbender. I'm looking her up right now. Asami, who's played by Seychelle Gabriel. She is, I probably messed the name up, Seychelle Gabriel. She is Princess Yume in The Last Airbender movie. She kind of getting a little redemption here. But in this season, I feel like she was doing kind of wrong because Asami is not really there that much. She's the background character at this point who, you know, she helps out in the final fight scenes, the final battle, but she doesn't really have that much of a presence, unfortunately. She's just there and she's kind of like getting dragged along, unfortunately. But heck, she's around. So I'm curious what season. I already know what season 3 and season 4, and do I remember her much in season 3 and season 4? Season 4, I remember her a little bit. Season 3, she's there. But her main piece, as of this rewatch right now, has been season 1 to be her main contribution. She's just there to be like the love interest to Mako and just play a part in this love triangle that I don't remember much of it. I don't. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out. But I'm eager to rewatch season 3, which is my favorite season of Korra, the Legend of Korra. So let's go and get into it with next week or whenever I release this out. But yeah. So should you watch Legend of Korra season 2? Yes. Definitely give it a shot. Definitely watch it. Have fun with it. You know, you're not gonna like the first half of it. You may like it. I'm not sure, but definitely give it a shot. And before getting to it, characters. Did anyone mention any characters real quick? Let me just talk about them real quick. So the kids, Iki, Jinora, and Milo, they are still around. Jinora really has a big moment where she's like, okay, she has a spiritual presence and she's becoming more of a main character in the series. So Jinora is not bad. They're not as bad and goofy as it was in season 1. They're a little bit more reeled back in this season. Tenzin has a moment with Milo where like he is teaching him how to kind of be like a trainer, and kind of you can see how Tenzin's taking the things on from Aang, where Aang will teach Tenzin how to do things. So Tenzin pushes on Milo and then realize, you know, it's not cool to force your kids to become this very determined trainer and train a bunch of lemurs. And he sees what he did with his son and he created a monster. So he's like, you know what, Milo, just have fun. Don't try to be this great trainer, great leader. And then Iki has one where she runs away, and it's kind of like teaching Tenzin. His kids in this season really teach Tenzin like, dude, you don't have to be this determined father who trying to be this greatest father of all time and the greatest airbender of all time. Relax a little bit. And that's what this season really showed Tenzin, which I like the growth of him, where his daughter Iki is like, runs away because she gets into it with her brother and sister. So Tenzin does the same thing, and he goes finds her, and he's like, you know what, we should get back to our family. Our family's cool. They might annoy us at times, but they're cool. And Iki's like, yeah, sure. And then his thing with Milo, and then the final part with him and Jinora, where he realized that his daughter is better than him in spiritual presence. You know, he trained for years on this. His daughter has succeeded him, and he's kind of disappointed because like he felt like he let his father down, but in reality he didn't. He just needed to be himself. I love Tenzin's arc in this season, and it's done so well, and you get to see the dynamic between Aang and his family. By the way, Katara's here, and she doesn't really merge a lot with her kids. So you don't need to see the dynamic between them and Katara, which I'm guessing Katara treat them all equally, so they don't have any resentment to their mother. But the kids, like Bumi and Kaya, resent their father. They resent Aang. So it shows that Aang's not a perfect human being, and he made some mistakes, and I like that. Bumi and Kaya, they're there. Kaya gets introduced as the sister of Bumi and Tenzin, and she's there. She's there. Bumi's annoying, but he's there, and they all have their moments to shine in this season. Mako, police guy, he's a okay character. He's not really the best character. Bolin, still one of my favorite characters, still goofy, but it's kind of a dick to his brother Mako, and he also gets put in this love relationship with Korra's cousin, who kind of treats him as a slave, and he can't find a way to break up with her, and he finally just runs away. But he becomes an actor. It's okay. Very goofy, crazy. I enjoy his character. He annoys me at times, but I enjoy his character. And now you get to see him as an antagonist character, and you're just like, okay, what are we gonna do with this? Like the mad, came out with the Joker, but a good guy, but bad guy kind of thing. Kind of curious how his character plays out. I know how it's gonna play out, but I want to curious in the rewatch, and if anything changes with him. But Varric is kind of there, who spits some knowledge, but at the same time he has his own agenda. Put it that way. He's an okay character. Korra to me is just, I don't understand. In season 1, she was like headstrong but fun, goofy kind of character, but still like no nonsense kind of character who doesn't really get mad at you and let you mess with her kind of thing. In season 2, she just starts off with anger and hate toward her father and Tenzin. And I don't understand why. Why is it so much towards them? And it didn't make sense. And she was being a dick. And then when she found out that like her father is rising against the Northern Water Tribe and goes to trial, and gets put in prison instead of getting killed, get put in prison, she goes hunt down the judge and forces him to release her father, which she talked to her father, and her father's like, yo, no, don't do this. I got framed. Don't let this be a thing. He didn't even know he got framed actually. He just like, I wasn't part of this. And because she didn't like the way how the trial was handled, she went after the judge and forced him to pretty much got to release his father. And the judge just started revealing everything. He's like, I've been working with Urlach for years. He actually framed your father. I guess Urlach like to talk about this. So he actually framed your father and all this stuff. So she learned the truth, goes back, trying to break her father out of prison. Urlach already transported him to the Northern Water Tribe. And she attacks Urlach. After Urlach was just talking mad crap to her, she actually throws the first blow. And I'm like, this is not putting Korra in a good light. As a protagonist, you're the Avatar. You should be more think first, fight second kind of thing. But yet she immediately fights first, thinks second. And I get it for what I said in the first episode of this review, but at the same time it carries over and you're just like, what are you doing, Korra? You look like more of a bad guy. People make a case that you're using your power to abuse people versus letting things play out in the justice system. The justice system is corrupted. There's another way you can break that down, Korra. Come on, think better than that. And she wouldn't find out the truth unless she went and forced her hand, which I'm like, that's not cool. I don't know. To me, it didn't seem right. But yeah, that's what Korra does. And then when the second half of the season, where she learned about herself and Wong, and on how the first Avatar came to be, she I hope I'm saying his name right. I think it is Wong, not Wang. Wan. And learn about Wan and how the first Avatar should be, and comes back with a more clear mind. I thought it was kind of neat. She seen more of her season 1 character versus the first half of season 2. I talked about Mako, talked about Bolin. Asame, she's there unfortunately, and then she tried to make a move back onto Mako after Mako said he broke up with Korra because she's by herself, she's lonely. I get that, but she's literally just there just to be this relationship triangle character. Other than that, she doesn't really add much to the season. Heck, she could have been like Iroh, not old Iroh, but grandson Iroh, where she's there to help out and comes in and come out the season. I was more okay with her doing that. Like, yo, everybody you guys in trouble, come to help out, versus being like this storyline of her trying to get her company back afloat and you don't really care as much. And then, you know, Grandpa Iroh, Zuko's uncle Iroh, he is in the season, and it warmed my heart to see him on the show again. I was like, yes, another character from Avatar: Last Airbender back on here. But that's Tarok, Korra's father. He was okay. He was cool. You learn more about Korra's family dynamic. That's cool. Korra's cousins, they just characters, the minions of Uralak, and then Uralak and Vaatu, they're there. They're not there, but they're just bad. They're not good villains. They're just there to, like, we want to make evil and run the world and rule the world and power and darkness. So it's like, okay. Vaatu makes sense. He is the embodiment of darkness, but for Uralak to do this, who's smart and connected to the spirit world, there's no reason for his evil actions. It just is what it is, and just like, okay, I guess we're just doing this. Because reasons. But yeah, those are the characters. This is a season you should watch, and grading time. I'm gonna grade Legend of Korra Season 2, Book 2, a solid B. And the reason why, the first 6 episodes are not that great, but episodes 7 on 8 for the remainder of the season, second half of the season is phenomenal to me. I love it. The artwork and design, the computer animation, the drawing, that's always great. It's not bad drawing wise, it's not bad artwork. The fighting is amazing. The storyline is the only thing that really just kind of and that's what gave me a B, because the storyline for the first 6 episodes is not that great. 7 on through is it's really done really good, and you get more invested later on in the season. First half is not second half, and episodes 7 and 8 really steals this season. It is really phenomenal. If I just graded those 2 episodes, it would have been an A+, just those 2 episodes itself. So it's a B. Season is a B. Definitely enjoyed it. The music is great. The action is great. You're going to love everything about it. But Bolin and his stuff, and Mako and his stuff, and Varric's stuff, it made sense. The propaganda is a real life thing that people do to get people on their side, to do propaganda and play on the fears and insecurities to try to get somebody to join your side, to create, to invest in a war. I like the concept of it, but it just didn't play out well on the show. But yeah, it's a B. If you've seen Legend of Korra, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. And see you guys in the next episode. And keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, you want to see what else I'm doing in my normal life and other things that's going on, please follow me on Instagram at Ali_Zakka. I'll put it right here around my face. Yep, right there. Also, if you want more episodes of movie breakdowns or grind towards success or whatever it is I'm doing on YouTube, you know what? Follow my page right here, like I said before, the little comment thing right there, And then you can watch the last episode of movie breakdowns right here, and watch the last episode of Grind Towards Success right there. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all next time. Keep being awesome.